Should have printed my own. Sit back here, thank you. Sit there, now you might crank that dial.
Or it might crank itself out. Your laptop is ready.
Okay, great, great.
Your laptop is ready when you
Okay. I can either get it tonight or I can get it Friday when I come in. If they invite me.
problem with the folks who you were here before,
So it's archived.
it's the same address. When the information about this is added, all the different stuff that goes with it changed. So I didn't just move it out. Anybody else has a problem? You start typing your name in, before it finishes, X.
Okay. Yeah, appreciate your work. So yeah, either whether it's tonight, Friday, when I come by, it's fine.
So yeah, it's sitting right there on my desk.
Okay. All right, well, I'll just grab Friday. What is that?
I mean, if you need it, it's no big deal.
I'll get it Friday.
That's already. That's okay. Well, oh, I'll go one that he's got.
Thank you. We do have a quorum. Mike Moscow is not present, but all the other members of the planning committee are here tonight. We need to look at the agenda. Are there any changes or additions that need to be made at this time? If not, do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, there were no July the 7th minutes because we did not meet on July 7th, so we don't have those to review. So we can move right to the public hearings. The first one on the agenda is case number RZ 8-21-06. Madison Land Holdings LLC, Mr. Powell O'Bannon, have submitted an application to rezone a 6-acre portion of a 39 1/10 acre parcel from R1 Limited Residential to M1 Limited Industrial with conditions. The applicant has submitted a proffer letter limiting the M1 zoned area exclusively to a storage facility, aka mini storage units, use. A conceptual site plan has been submitted with the application showing 7 mini storage structures. 2 structures measure 65 feet by 200 feet, and 5 structures measure 65 feet by 150 feet. If approved, a site plan submittal would be required to be reviewed by the Planning Commission and approved by the Board of Supervisors. The subject parcel, located on Fishback Road, Route 772, to date does not have a postal address. The parcel is identified on Madison County's tax maps as 40-20. All right, Mr. Webb, do you have anything to add?
I'm just talking really loud. So I'll add a few things. As you can see, it's presenting both positions. So this is approved with the limits of many storage units. Things I would like. Really, I think. Require many storage units, and I can talk to more about this. It's all about it. It's really all the different so thousands of square feet. Still wow. That's roughly half of those houses. It's not a high traffic generator. I think with the site. Site like this time, a couple of units that we will slowly add to having said that, I think the only, I said my recommendation was, this is an R1 zone area, and I do believe it's close to the sewer plant. Having said that, it's partial state law. So it makes sense, and it's a good location for contact with already the property, and the property they work with the applicants. When they come in, it's like walking off the road, and eventually the capital drives. Fishback Road, south distance, 600 north, south of 2,000 feet, pretty ideal as well. Otherwise, any questions from you on this, from the planning commission?
Okay, any questions from the Planning Commission for Mr. Webb? I guess not. Do we have anyone from the community that wishes to comment on this application? Well, I skipped one. Would the applicant like to say anything? Yes, okay, sorry.
Be happy to answer any questions you have. I would like to make one comment. We'd like to do the site plan for the whole project. In the past, could, even though we may face it in 1 year and next year, because of the stormwater management, everything should be all taken care of.
Anyone from the planning commission want to have questions? Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, we're going to ask for community comments in a minute. Okay, thank you, Mr. O'Bannon. All right, now we get to the community questions. Yes, thank you. If you would state your name and address, please. Did you get a name? Okay, if you would start again with your name and address for the record. Thank you.
And my question is, will there be any kind of buffer, like trees or shrubs along Fishback Road, concealing these roads from storage sheds? As we provide bodies for
Thank you. Did you have a comment? Would you? Yes, please. Thank you. Ma'am, would you please address the planning commission with your comments? This is not a question session for the. Yeah. Okay, so your question, you're asking us if there's going to be a site plan that you'll be able to see. Yes. Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the community?
And most of this, I think, really being answer, but we are likewise, say, interested in area, I mean, we outside more different things you expect. People in the now there,
Thank you, sir. Any other comments from the community?
So let's just say, if you have the package, you can see that the site plan that they have. The one property that comes out is probably the 100 feet or so would be. I think that's really the only one that I could see that might have some visual impact, but a simple solution to that would be by the site plan.
Yes, at this point, this is an application for rezoning only, so the site plan will be the kind of the next step in their process.
But it's good to know. I think he said.
Okay. Anyone else from the community want to offer a comment? Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions from the planning commission?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I make a motion that case number RZ dash 08-21-06 be recommended to the board of supervisors for approval.
Okay, motion has been made and second. Second has been made. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Thank you. All right, second case is case number OA-08-21-07, amending the zoning ordinance, specifically deleting/amending portions of Article 14, General Provisions, 14.1-1, 14.1-2, 14.1-3, 14.1-4, 14.1-5, 14-2, and 14-2A. If approved, the result of the proposed amendments would be eliminating the requirement that a water source, i.e. a drilled well, be installed/completed prior to the issuance of a building permit. And Mr. Webb, do you have anything to add to that, please?
This is just something that was brought to the attention, real estate office, sort of outlier. We've talked about it several times. I think we can just add something to our application. I can't see how we're handling it. Or all this. All this. A lot of folks. This is really just something. Removing something, that's why I think that I should just not see another part of the code, and our ordinance says he just says it's really not necessary in the zoning ordinance. Most of these are deletions, but since our last meeting was the workshop, we did make a change to 14-22. Respect to the building official, and you may appeal to the board, building code board of appeals. We had board zoning for, so, that's really all I have to say. Question for me, or?
Okay, any questions for Mr. Webb from the Planning Commission?
Yes, Ligon and Planning Commission meetings, we've discussed the fact that contractors experienced in building are willing to take the risk of not finding water, albeit a very small risk. But we also have discussed putting people on notice, particularly people that are building their own houses or initiating that process on their own, that the county is not going to bail them out. Is that going to be expressed formally somewhere?
Yeah, I think that, form, simply, form for reconstruction, simply to have a check box. There's no responsibility. I don't see how it could be responsible.
I think that would be very desirable to have that statement made clear.
Okay,
I have a
yes.
question.
I believe it would be appropriate in these cases where the building permit is being sought by the builder rather than the owner. I think it would be appropriate to have the owner sign off so that we have evidence that they have signed this acknowledgement as well. But otherwise, I don't have any objection to what Mr. Webb has presented.
Sure. Yes, sir.
What you just said, it makes sense, except what we don't have a higher court. So is the owner gonna sign off right, I mean, the builder gonna sign off right?
We need a builder again. Is that question?
Somebody owns it.
Yeah, somebody else.
Somebody owns it.
Yeah, I mean,
Somebody owns it.
yeah.
If it's the builder, then the builder's the owner and would check it twice.
We could do a separate form and just add it, just a little statement, sign, initial, whatnot. Put on, that was about, so.
I had a question where you said that the contractor said they were willing to take the risk. What do they mean?
Well, I think they don't really see a risk, so I don't know if they're really. We've had it one case in 4 years, and yet they come up with the risk is very low, so, I don't think they, and some of them are here, so they don't, they like this a little more than I can. But I guess.
Okay,
We
yes.
got some builders here, I'd like to hear what they got to say about it.
Next step, yes. Any other questions for Mr. Webb from the Planning Commission? Okay, any comments from the public, please? Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the planning commission. My name is Anthony Spider Russ. I'm a local builder. Living 2033 Mander Run Road, Local County. I've been building in this county and the surrounding counties since the 80s. What we're talking about here is a simple, practical matter. With the technology that we have today, we can drill a well, we can go deep with the well. We don't get water when we go deep. We can hydraulically fracture the well and bring water into the well. I have run into an instance where I've had to drill a second well, but that's very, very rare. In the last year, I've probably had to frack 3 wells, and each well has had a sufficient yield to do that. There are a number of issues that come about that make this a very simple matter. When an owner sends you to get your permits, you have to sign a document. If the builder is making the application for the owner, that you are the builder, the agent for the owner. So the owner has already authorized you to place your signature on that for them. So that is handled. Another thing I'd like to point out is, I can't speak authoritatively on this, but in the last 40 years, I'm not aware of one building permit that hasn't been issued before the water hasn't been found. I build in a lot of the jurisdictions surrounding us and am familiar with them. A lot of builders that even build further out And we are the only jurisdiction nearby that has this requirement. There's another economic component in today's volatile world that is devastating to those who are involved. What happens is you get your health permit, you have to drill a well, go through the process. If it's a deep well, it can take a couple of weeks. But part of the process is that you have to obtain a well driller. You're very busy, and that could take a month to 3 or 4 months. And that process, everything sits still while it waits. But in today's very volatile pricing environment, that could cost the owner, the contractor, or both, or a shared impact, anywhere from $10,000 to $70,000 while you wait, making some projects not feasible. Not feasible because of water, but not feasible because of cost. So that is devastating to folks who have their heart set or their life savings set on building a house. It will actually, cause them actual harm. To that end, removing this is the intelligent and practical thing to do. And I'm sure that anyone here sees the merit in that, particularly since no other jurisdiction has the requirements that you're speaking of when we go forward to get a well. And a well is not critical path. Basically, it has to be done before the house is ready, but you have the flexibility of finding your well driller and getting them in place sometime during the process. What we normally have to do is, as soon as we have the health permit, for lack of a better term, we have to start beating on the well driller right then to get it a month before we close the house when we need water on for the plumber to do the final. So it takes us that long. And what happens is other builders in other jurisdictions are affected by us having to step in front of them to get a permit to drill a well before they get one somewhere else. So it's creating a stir throughout the industry that is totally unnecessary. And I would be happy to answer questions from anyone who chooses to ask.
Thank you, sir. Any questions?
I have a
Yes.
question. When you go to the other counties and you apply for your permit for the other counties, you have to sign off on any paper anywhere that says you're responsible to get water? No, I didn't think so.
The health department has their own set of regulations that requires that you have an operating permit for a well and a septic, and you can't get an occupancy permit for that success. So you are already, as soon as you have those permits, bound to get it done, or the house isn't finished and you don't get paid. It's pretty good sizing thing.
Mhm. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Any other comments from the public? Yes, sir.
Good evening, folks. Chris Artelli Construction. I live on Repton Mill Road in Rhoda. I've been in building houses in Madison and surrounding areas since the late 80s. I spoke at the workshop meeting. It's hard to expand upon what Anthony so eloquently described. He did a very good job. I'm trying not to repeat what he has already, the information he's provided. I'll just relate one example we had several years ago. Wintertime, the ground is frozen. In the afternoon, the sun comes out, the ground thaws out, and we can't get a well truck up there. We had this house pre-sold. We were building it for someone. They had a loan commitment. Interest rates were rising. They did not want to bump up against that deadline and have to start all over again with a higher rate. After fighting this for weeks, we get a little stressed. We can get a well truck in, but the well truck is not available. In the meantime, we could have done our footings. We could have been building our foundation, but we're still not waiting for the well truck. We eventually hired a bulldozer and had to get the well driller to agree, and we had to assume all the responsibility for that bulldozer to drag that well truck into the site so we could get the well drilled. And that's what we were going to lose the project, and the homeowners were going to get home. I echo and second everything that Anthony said. He did a very good job explaining that, so I won't take up any more of your time. Anybody have any questions for me?
Any questions from the planning commission? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Any other comments from the public? Okay, any comments from members of the planning commission?
I just got one comment, Mr. Chairman. and I think that you keep this as simple as possible. And do away with it, keep it simple. Everybody that's in business, everybody that's building a house, knows you've gotta have water.
Any other discussion? Okay. Do I hear a motion on this case?
If you are, I have to make a motion, I did just write a little on page 4, you'll see.
Mhm,
it's a
yeah.
simple, so you won't get confused. On page 4, you'll see.
I noticed on that motion you put that you did not include 14-2. Is that staying in
Okay,
the ordinance now?
thank you. Go ahead and press A and 14-2A, you're right, sorry about that.
Okay, do I hear a motion on this case?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion in case number -08-21-07 be recommended to the Board of Supervisors for approval.
Any second? Second, okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Okay, the case will be recommended. Okay, next case is case number OA-08-21-08, amending the zoning ordinance, specifically deleting Article 12-1-2, types of signs, number 11, political signs. If approved, regulations/restrictions for political signs would be removed from the zoning ordinance. Mr. Webb, any,
I will say that, April just went through a zoning training, and was the first thing, the attorney that was posting it said, he recommended removing all references to social signs and ordinances, so it seems to be popular. This is just something we had talked about as a, kind of a housekeeping thing a few months ago, and so here we are. And, some people, just free speech, political signs, I always say, they eventually, times will come down, go back up, come down, and it is very much considered to be sort of, part of people's free speech nowadays, so at least at the conference, if they were to recommend it, just to remove them, and I think that's probably the thing to do.
okay. Any questions from the Planning Commission for Mr. Webb? We discussed this quite a bit already. Any public comments concerning this case?
Yeah, I have. I'm Mike Fisher. So I know I wasn't there and I'm not on planning commission, but so I can run for office and when I get my sign. So they're sticking at my corner and I can see them for over and over more. I mean, everybody says VDOT comes along, I can't get VDOT right now in Blue Tree. Go. So, I mean, this is some motivation. I mean, we have it on the ordinance, there's some motivation for somebody that's gonna do it, to do it. The people that are not gonna do it, will do it anyway. But at least we can go and say, hey, we have an ordinance, you gotta get your sign. This way, this seems like we've just given up. More trash for somebody that owns land on a road like 231 to pick up. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? If not, any comments or discussion from the Planning Commission?
Yeah, I would just respond to you, Mike, that there is a constitutional issue here. Political speech is protected. And these signs, believe me, I think they're an eyesore too, but constitute political speech. So I think that the wisdom suggests that we ought to recognize the Constitution and our interest in getting rid of these signs after an election.
Any other comments or discussion from the planning commission? If not, do I hear a motion concerning this case?
Never done it before, but I'm gonna take a crack at it.
Got to start, okay.
Chairman, make a motion to
Yeah, just approved by case number.
approve case number OA-08-21-08.
All right, do I hear a second? Okay, motion is made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Okay, case is approved to recommend to the Board of Supervisors. All right, our fourth case is case number OA-08-21-09, amending the zoning ordinance, specifically Article 14-4, standards for issuance of special use permits, and 14-4-2. If approved, these amendments would clarify conditional approvals of special use permits by the Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors. All right, Mr. Webb, you have anything to add?
Just another thing that we worked on for a while,
Mhm.
and, I do think the amendment, talking to you, and I think people in your committee have the right, I think it's written very well, very clear. I think that's what we wanted, so with respect to 14-4, 14-42, I think they're good amendments, and I appreciate you putting this together.
Any questions for Mr. Webb from the Planning Commission? If not, any public comments on this case? All right, if not, any discussion from the Planning Commission?
I would just say that the planning commission spent a fair amount of time on this issue, and they recommended approval, the proposed recommended approval. That language is the language that we have crafted.
Any other comments or discussion? All right, do I hear a motion on this case?
Mr. Chairman, case number OA-08-21-09 be recommended to the Board of Supervisors for approval.
Thank you. Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, like sign. Okay. Approved for case number OA-08-21-09. Okay, do we have any other items from the Planning Commission that we need to discuss tonight? Any other items from the public? Okay, if not, do I hear a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second? Okay, motion is made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We are adjourned.
All right, I'd like to call the Board of Supervisors portion of this meeting to order. We do have a quorum. We do need to adopt an agenda. Anybody have anything we need to add to the agenda? We do have a closed session this evening, and we do have one minor piece of new business. But that's all there. Pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Case number RZ-08-21-06, Madison Land Holdings LLC, Mr. Paolo Banda have submitted an application to rezone 6-acre portion of 39 1/10 acre parcel from R1 limited residential to M1 limited industrial. With conditions. The applicant has submitted a proper letter limiting the M1 zoned area exclusively to storage facilities, AKA mini storage units. Use. A conceptual site plan has been submitted with the application showing 7 mini storage structures, 2 structures measuring 65 by 200, and 5 structures 65 by 150. If approved, an official site plan submittal would be required to be reviewed by the planning commission and approved by the board of supervisors. The subject parcel is located on Fishback Road, Route 772. To date, does not have a postal address. The parcel is identified on Madison County tax map as 40-20. Ligon, you have anything else to add?
No, sir, no more than what I said during the planning commission's portion.
Anybody have any questions for Ligon? Mr. O'Bannon, anything to add?
No, sir.
All right.
I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. O'Bannon? All right, now to the public. To the public. Back to the board.
All I'll say, Mr. Chairman, is I'm sympathetic with a couple of questions that the public asked, and like them, we'll be anxious to see the conceptual site plan become a site plan, and that's when they'll be answered. But other than that, I'm approving of, I'm in favor of the rezoning request for these properties.
Have a motion?
I move to approve case RZ 08-21-06 as recommended by the planning commission.
I second.
Very good. Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Case number OA-08-21-07, amending the zoning ordinance, specifically deleting and amending portions of Article 14, general provisions, 14-1-1, 14-1-2, 14-1-3, 14-1-4, 14-1-5, 14-2, and 14-2A. If approved, the results of the proposed amendment would be eliminating the requirements of water source, i.e. a drill well, be installed and completed prior to the issuance of the building permit. Ligon, anything to add? And Sean Gregg's on the phone with us. Sean Gregg, anything, anytime?
Nothing other than making sure, and while I understand Mr. Clatterbuck's comments related to the fact that the contractor is the agent for the owner, I really see this as more of a consumer protection issue, because I think it's important that people understand that they are assuming this risk. But again, none of that affects the modifications of the ordinance. It's just a matter of modifying our application to make sure that people understand what they are doing whenever they build without having the guaranteed water. And I realize that it happened during an extreme drought, approximately 40 years ago. And, sometimes bad situations make for bad law, but I think that modification to our building permit application will take care of the issue.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gregg. Any questions for Ligon on this? To the public. Mr. Clatterbuck?
Short and sweet, based on the possibility of approval at tonight's meeting, when would this be effective?
I'll sign it here within about 20 minutes, and we'll take care of it. It'll be it. Other comments from the public? All right, back to the board. I know the planning commission didn't say with disclaimer, I don't believe they did at least. I am in favor of putting a disclaimer of responsibility with a sign off from the property owner and the contractor. If they're the same people, it should take moments more just to sign the two spots. But I think it kind of protects us on the other side. It is a change in Madison. That's what it is. Anybody have any heartache with that? That's my only comment. Yes,
Yeah, I'd
sir.
like to hear from Chris or Anthony.
Yeah, please.
I feel for people all over the U.S. and some people actually relocating from out of the U.S. Sometimes gaining that additional signature once you've been authorized as agent could be problematic.
If I could respond briefly, if you send them an email with a PDF, get them to sign it and overnight it, I think that takes care of the distance issue.
Does that work? Sure. Okay. Any other comments, Chris? Got anything different?
I honestly think it's a solution to serve the problem. We never needed it. But, I don't see the value in the initial step. It's just another box to check, which could have some unintended consequences. The only problem with the original ordinance, it had unintended consequences. So I would be in favor of not having that additional requirement, but if that's the way it goes, that's fine.
Ligon, what was the sentence you wrote up as a disclaimer? Did-
I really hadn't written one up.
Oh, you had, okay.
It's just something. And
Mr. Chairman, I had sent a memorandum, which my office will send to you tomorrow, with some proposed language that I think takes care of it. And again, it's not part of the ordinance, it's just something to be included in the application for a building permit.
Well, Mr. Gregg, couldn't it be something, just the language is on the application, but doesn't really have to be checked off or signed? It's just, it's there? By applying for and submitting the request for a building permit, you acknowledge that is a condition of it?
Sure, we could do that. I mean, again, the substance of the ordinance, I don't have any issue with the modifications. It's just making sure that the general public is aware of the fact that, number one, this is a change in Madison County, and number two, that you're not look to the county to pay for their problem once it arises. Because I understand that what happened back in the 80s is people were looking to the county to fix the problem for them. And the county does not want to be in the business of doing that.
All right, so maybe the direction is we use bold print with the disclaimer, and then it's taken care of.
I can live with that.
There you go, bold print. All right.
My concern is how many owners actually see their building permit. You know, how many landowners review the building permit after their builder has applied for it?
It's forwarded to their lender and it's posted on their site, so that it's part of our package to them, but I don't know if it's everyone's package to them.
Well, and I agree with Mr. Clatterbuck. The concern is, you know, having built a house and having represented people building houses, they are so focused on the finished product that these are the types of details that potential homeowners and home builders tend to overlook because they're just not focused on it. But this is a way to try to get them to focus on it a little bit.
Yeah. All right. Where are we, folks? What do y'all want to do here? You want to put it in bold? You want to get people to initial off? There you go. And hire a reputable contractor, like Kevin says here. We'll start looking. All right, what's the pleasure for it? Sure.
To add the bold print disclaimer.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve case number OA-08-21-07 with bold print disclaimer included.
Second.
All right, motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Please, same sign. Thank you, gentlemen, we appreciate it. Thank you. Case number 08-21-08, amending the zoning ordinance, specifically deleting Article 12-1-2, types of signs, number 11, political sign. If approved, regulations, restrictions, for political signs would be removed from the zoning ordinance. There you go. Ligon, you have anything to add?
I will say that you can regulate political signs, you just can't pull them out as separate. So the way the builder works, this all started with I think it was a church that put up a small temporary sign down in Gilbert, Reed, Arizona, so they had to move it, and it went all the way to Supreme Court. So what it says here is the Supreme Court decision confirmed that local government's regulation of signs, specifically based on content, is unconstitutional. So in other words, you can't just pick out political signs, it has to be basically affect all signs. So that's why we're simply
just removing it. I mean, I guess, we have signs that, I don't really like sign ordinances, I haven't liked the sign ordinances in the past life, but, my feeling is, again, based on the recent training that April went to, is that, as written, it's definitely does not jive with the Supreme Court decision having a standalone political sign ordinance. It would be just part of the sign ordinance.
And Mr. Chairman, I agree with Mr. Webb on this point. It brings us into compliance with the recent Supreme Court decision in Gilbert.
And I think that's all we're doing. It was, we brought our attention last fall and different things, so I think we're doing the right things.
Questions for Ligon?
I'm like Mike Fisher. I have heartburn with this one. I know how political signs go up. Poor Jonathan doesn't even know it, but 6 or 8 months after you ran the last time, one of your signs was up some road I was on. And I'm sure whoever put it up told you they were going to take it down, and they didn't. And yard sale signs are put everywhere. They're tacked on to stop signs. They're tacked on to post on the state. The state used to go around and pull those things off, and I think they got lazy, or maybe they passed an ordinance they don't care anymore. But I think if you don't keep some kind of regulations for these signs, I'm like Mike, they're going to be everywhere. People don't take them down.
Well, I think you could say temporary signs in general. Maybe one way is to do an ordinance which governs all temporary yard type signs. That doesn't.
And political.
That doesn't, change political or whether it's a special sale or, people did that house.
Anything that's temporary.
Graduating senior. It's, just so many different ways where it goes, but that might be a way to just make a blanket temporary sign.
I think that would be better. That would at least have some control, maybe.
But that would be another step, I think. You gotta get the word political out of this one.
Yeah.
And then work on the other one. The political signs, yard sale signs, those are the ones I got concerns with. I just keep getting signs on the end of my road that are
Internet.
And it's the same sign. All they needed to do was straighten the other one and it would have been fine, but they just put up another one. I'm gonna throw those away too. Let's get rid of this one and then we can move on and we can do something different, just to get rid of roadside trash. Certainly we must be regulated. Do we regulate roadside trash? Somebody has to do that. Yeah, well, me, yeah, right. All right. Anybody got any more comments for Ligon? To the public. You still don't like them, do you, Mr. Fisher?
No, I don't. And the last show up, you can throw so somebody eats McDonald's and exactly at my road, they're finished and they go home. So, I'm sure there's other people that say that, but the problem is loitering is against the law in the state of Virginia, that you almost have to have it. I was a magistrate, you almost have it on camera to prove who threw the trash. So the trash goes everywhere, and it's up to the landowner or somebody, a good citizen. They have signs that people, we're this club, we go and police the road. We wouldn't have to do that if we could catch somebody and make a point of it. And that's all I'm saying about the same thing with the political signs. They were all over the place. I let people put political signs up, but we finally had to go into the church right there in Crestaway now. Then we'll just pick them up, put them in a truck and haul them away. So that was my issue.
I thought you were gonna go after slow eaters.
No, I was toning it down to the master or something like that.
Oh, great, good, yes, go with that. All right, any other public comment? Back to the board, what do y'all want to do?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to amend Madison County zoning ordinance, deleting Article 12-1-2, number 11. It was case number OA-08-21-08.
Motion made, seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, case number 08-08-21-09, amending the zoning ordinance specifically Article 14-4 standards for issuance of special use permits and 14-4-2, if approved, these amendments would clarify conditional approvals of special use permits by the planning commission and board of supervisors. Mr. Webb,
You want to add? What was that? I'm just wondering.
any questions from Mr. Webb? To the public? Back to the board.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve case 08-08-21-09 as recommended by the Planning Commission.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion? Thanks to the planning commission for working on this. We've only been talking about it for like 2 years. Really appreciate it. Further? Yes. What? Ms. Hall?
Yeah.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same side. Last one, amendments slash revisions to chapter 4, article 2, outdoor music or entertainment ordinance of the codes of Madison County, Virginia. The ordinance is proposed to be renamed as the Temporary Events, Outdoor Musical or Entertainment Festival and Firework or Pyrotechnic Displays Ordinance. Specifically changes, revisions are proposed for section 4-19, purpose, 4-20, definitions, 4-22, violations, 4-23, permit required, 4-24, application generally, 4-26, action on application, 4-27, condition precedent to granting, 4-28 restrictions, 4-29 revocation, and the addition of 4-30 applications may be forwarded to Board of Supervisors if approved temporary events, musical, entertainment, festivals, and firework pyrotechnic display applications would be administratively approved by county staff. However, if deemed necessary by county staff or by request of the chair of the Board of Supervisors, applications may be forwarded to the Board of Supervisors for review and approval. Mr. Webb?
So just we worked on this for several months, and it was based on a large event that could have potentially, I guess, been dangerous. Unfortunately, it was not. We weren't aware of it. We do have the 78 ordinance, which this would be an update of the 78 ordinance, modernize it a little bit. The big thing is administrative, events 500 to 1,000. And I've talked to a few vendors and I really don't think there were a lot of events that are over 500. But for the ones that are, basically send this out to different venues. And venues are a big thing now. We talk about it a lot here. But I did talk to someone from the mountains. They were supportive of it, and they thought it was a good idea. Basically, if we do get an application, we'll get an application. I guess the zoning administration, and we'll sit down and email everybody with services. Sure, everyone will be involved. Sheriff, we actually got an application now. The ones that have about 500 people will be in September. So we're all looking at it, make sure that our protocol is in place, that it is really fair. We're not trying to go down and tax paper with someone, basically, and have food trucks. Health department. If you're gonna parking, all those things, just make sure it's considered by the applicants. I think that's really a way to make sure that the situation arises. And it is a large event, and I did look at several ordinances, and I did add, that this is a very large event. And I do think thousands of people that I think it's a petition administrative approval, obviously. Should have some. We've gone through painstakingly, amended this, looked at it many times, and we bounced it back and forth. Any questions for me regarding this? I don't think we're trying to go out and police people who have fireworks at the residence. But, you know, if we're here, someone's having a fireworks display, then you have forms that come out and make sure that they are properly licensed.
Who has questions who has questions for me? Sean, Greg, do you have comments on this one?
I have several comments. I would remind the Board of Supervisors of the temporary use statute that we had several years ago, where people were allowed to do things for up to, I believe it was 14 days per month on their property. And functionally, what that did, under a literal reading of that definition in the zoning ordinance, it created the possibility that there could have been any number of businesses that were operating without the need for any kind of permit. I had mentioned at the work session of the Planning Commission my concern about the fact that there is no restriction on lot sizes. In other words, if I have a 2-acre parcel of land, just to pick a fairly standard size, I could try to do all kinds of events. And if I had crowd control problems, well, you know, you can say that things are impractical, but just because it's impractical doesn't mean somebody may not try to do it. And then we are leaving our law enforcement and EMS people with a potential mess on their hands. So I think lot size becomes an issue, parking becomes an issue, all of those things. And I know we attempt to address them, but my concern is in the practical application of these types of things. I did go online, and there was a phenomenon, I think it was in Indiana, where someone was promoting what they called backyard wrestling promotions, which would be allowed by this. And basically they were, consensual felonious assaults on one another, where people are, throwing each other down on thumbtacks and all kinds of things. And, a lot of it, and I mentioned that it's an extreme situation, and to my knowledge, we have not had that in Madison County. But the problem is this ordinance really creates an opportunity for people to do that sort of thing. The real problem with it, I think, is, relates to the fact that we do not limit the number of people for whom these events would occur. With regard to the practicalities of the ordinance, I think in section 4-25, I would name the state police and also federal law enforcement agencies as having a license to come onto the property. And I would give serious consideration, because again, this can happen in neighborhoods, of restricting music until 11 p.m. at night as opposed to midnight. There are some people who go to bed fairly early, and midnight is a more difficult time for them. But those would be my concerns. I would suggest that perhaps we take a second to look at this, just to make sure that we are not creating any unintended consequences with this ordinance.
The only thing I would say is that the current ordinance doesn't, you could apply for a festival in the current provision, and I don't think that the 78 one, there's any mention of the lot size. So, I know there's been a problem in the past, but I guess, again, my involvement was because we had the event where there were several hundred people on motorcycles and didn't really have any knowledge of it. But, as far as adding lot size, I don't see anything wrong with that. I just don't, it hasn't been in the ordinance. And we come back in a year having more. I mean, they came in and doing it, and actually did it, go through this process. We're planning on having people who has cooperated, and trying to say, I'm trying to get with the group, or you belong to the board, and have them. We don't tell them it's not approved, so. It's a little bit of a far-fetched scenario, but I understand, John, here, kind of, you know, worst case scenario. But I think what we have on the books, this is.
Question, please. Okay, this question is kind of for Sean and for Ligon. So, you know, this we're looking at, this is not part of the zoning ordinance here. We've got things in the zoning ordinance that address that temporary use and seasonal use. So this is not that. So how do these two things marry up? Are we going to say the same thing in our codification, section 4 of the codification, and say it again in the zoning, or should it be in one place or the other? I'm thinking that the zoning takes this a step further, but I could be wrong. You see what I'm saying?
I agree with you, Mr. Yowell. I think that it does.
Okay. So we need to look at, I say, yeah, we'll put this on the back burner and perhaps get the planning commission involved to marry these two together. I don't know.
Agreeable.
Does that make sense, Ligon?
You mean just moving this into the, so this is, it's codified a different area of the ordinance. Zoning ordinance, temporary events that some people are.
They need to complement each other. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, I kind of think they do. It's not in the zoning code.
Right.
But, yeah, I don't, if you want to move it, you codify it somewhere else, that's fine. I don't know if it really changes the meat and potatoes of this ordinance, whether it's in the zoning code or standalone.
What do you say about this, Sean Gregor?
I think, I mean, I have not studied it to see how well it complements the zoning ordinance. I do think that it does require some additional study, and one of the components of that would be to make sure that it does in fact complement what our zoning ordinance does. I'm not saying it's a bad ordinance. I'm recommending that we study this a little further, and I think it is appropriate to get some input from the planning commission, because they take the time to investigate these things and you know, and ask the questions, you know, in terms of what the best and worst case scenarios might be.
All right. Does the board have any more comments, questions on this? I still think we need to go through the public hearing process. Yeah. To the public. To the public. Any questions, thoughts, comments? Nothing? I'm looking at you, Mike.
Well, I think that, well, the same language as in one ordinance is in, we've done on all the event venues, and I think it could be and I think it might be a meshing of the two would be easier than, I definitely would like to work with it.
All right. The Gray, all right, any other public comment? The Gray family has reached out to me on this one specifically, and their big concern, they are the ones that had the very large motorcycle event, everybody knows. Their concern was getting sign-offs on these would be, they don't want to just send somebody all over the county trying to track down people to sign this thing off. I assured them that is not the intent of this. The intent is actually just solely for public safety. We've kind of gone and dove down a much greater path is what it looks like to me. But I do certainly hope, and Madison County keep this in mind, so that public safety is the idea, it's not just making people jump through a bunch of hoops to accomplish what they want to do on their own property. I don't know where I'm at. Sounds like we need to go back on this work, on this revision, and we should delay it, and Ligon and Mr. Webb, come up with a task for the planning commission to kind of go down to analyze and recommend back to us so that the two sides are complementary. Does that make sense or not? That work for everybody? Somebody want to make a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move that we table the amendments and revisions of chapter 4 of the outdoor music entertainment ordinance.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. There you go. Thank you all. We'll get some direction to you.
Thank you.
We don't have any old business. We do have new business. Sean Gregg, tell us about the opioid litigation resolution. Hold on. Hold on, Sean Gregg. You hear me? Got tired. Bear with us for a second. Sean Gregg? Yeah, he must have got tired of listening. Yeah, we're back with you. We're on the opioid resolution. You want to tell us about it?
Yes, the resolution kind of speaks for itself. This is part of what we have been doing with, several of the suits. You'll recall that we passed a resolution to support the settlement with the Purdue Pharma family. This one relates, however, to the Mallinckrodt settlement. This has been recommended to us by our outside counsel. This is a resolution that we have addressed. I have modified it for use for Madison County. By signing this, we are signaling to our council that we agree with what they have done, and we will take whatever portion of the award is allocated to us based on the mathematical formula that they have.
Do we have any questions for Sean Gregg?
I got one small thing, Sean. Paragraph 4 says, whereas the county's outside opioid litigation council has recommended that the county/city. So you want to just take /.
Just delete, just mark out city.
Right.
I that one. So
Okay.
just mark through city and we're good.
Yeah, that's all I
All right. Any other questions on this one? What's pleasure and direction of the board?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve resolution number 2021-18.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Do we have any information and correspondence? Brian's still doing a good job, and it's nice to have John Wade here with us. Public comment. Mike Fisher, come on.
I'm not here representing you, no, tonight. I'm representing the American Legion Post 157 Madison. And I'm here to request waiving of the fees of the building permit fees to turn down and rebuilding the pavilion which we took over from Parks and Rec in the county earlier this year. Before I get to specifics of the pavilion, I'd like to go over a couple of things with the Legion is doing. We put new roof on the post, we put a new roof on the pool. No, we're not going to build a pool. Calvin Roofer did a great job. He did a fine walkthrough. It's, so the place is looking good. Legal Works came out, tore down the old oak tree, because it was sitting on the rock. And another tree, and they contributed, gave us that 100% contribution to the American Legion. Finally, we have designed to upgrade the bathrooms, which haven't been completely redone since the building was built, right after World War II. working with, local business, curriculum coach, well, he's going to donate, and he's going to donate some time and effort to rebuild it. So as you can see, money is real tight there. So I talked to Mr. Wilkes, the building, we took the pin off, and we got up there, and most of the trusses are attached. 17 of them, and whatever. So when we walked to the side, when it was closed, the whole building was. So it's standing, if you've been out there, roof is off, it needs to come down. Couldn't tear the building down because it's in the easement, REC line going right over. So we had to go to them, Brooks's help, we did that for them. And REC said, Rappahannock Electric Corporation said, I to build it exactly back, same place, the same height. So we're ready to do that, we got most of the money. Cardinal, has given us, home supply has given us, quite a bit of stuff to do that. So we're ready to go. The public will still be able to use it. We're not renting it, or hockey league's not using it. All we're asking is approximately $500 to waive those fees. And the building will come down and probably as soon as I have to go through the permit, hopefully this week, I'll get to it. That's where we are.
We all want to. They're good civic organization.
Yeah, I'm
They're
fine
good
with it.
civic organization. Let's go. All right, so let me make that.
Mr. Chairman, I move to waive the building, are there also demolition permits? What is it, just a building?
I
permit?
assume you're talking about transfer.
Building permits, and you can get into specifics exactly how much. Building, I have to have a building permit, and then there's some kind of fees that collect all the information.
The county fees associated with replacing the picnic shelter at the American Legion.
Motion made, second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Get on working on the pool.
Yes, sir.
All right, other public comment? Other public comment? All right, we do have a closed session. Thank you all for coming and participating. So.
Oh, here we go. I move that the board convene in a closed session pursuant to Virginia Code Sections A 2.2-3711A1 for discussion on the assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, discipline, or resignation of the county administrator.
Motion made, second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Thank you all.